So we're going to perform a site takeoff in a series of steps. So we'll have a few videos that cover image import, CAD cleanup, walking through the takeoff portion, site improvements, and so forth. But we're going to start with setting up a template so that we can start our takeoff. A few things that I like to change on more of a data modeling, just all around settings through project settings. But what we're going to talk about first is some of these menus. So I have a lot of menus turned on, or boxes open up over here on the site, windows on the side here. So View Filter Manager we'll use a lot, Project Explorer we'll use some, and then I'm in the properties a lot. So I like to have these set up just so I can have them available. If you're working a truck, it's nice to have them off to the side here and they don't take up space. So just real quick, if you notice up top in the quick toolbar and you shut some of these off or on as they turn yellow, you can turn them off or on and just click them. Let me get them turned off. And then down here I've got the coordinate scroll turned on. So let's turn them all off and then we'll kind of walk through. So what I'll do is I'll come across the top, that filter, it's the View Filter Manager, looks like a funnel. And then the next one over is Project Explorer. And when I do that, it actually pulls them, so you can drag this window down. And what I like to do is just set it up and try to put it right in the middle of that view filter, and you'll see it where it pops in the frame. Just let up with your left click, and then you'll have them in tabs. And then if you drag over to the left here, you can have it set up Project Explorer View Filter. And then I like to turn the properties on. So two more to the right, if you hold your cursor, is the properties window. Same thing, it kind of pops in, or sometimes it pops in right here. And again, if you're mobile on a laptop, it's nice to have this on top again. So I kind of do that frame, and then we have all three together. And then I like to use the coordinate scroll a lot. So down here in this lower right hand corner on TBC, if you turn that on, that normally pops into a window that looks like this. And then if you resize that window and right click, there's certain items I'll turn on, like surface name, surface elevation, surface slope. Just good for a good quick check. And what you can do is, sometimes it's hard, you can actually drag this down, and if you bring it down right about the middle, you'll barely see that frame pop in, and then you can leave it there. So again, if you just drag it down, kind of pull it in, and you'll see it pop in and get set. So I like to leave that on. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a template, and we're going to use one of Trimble's installed templates. We'll go File, New, and I want to start with the U.S. survey foot. We are here in Indiana, so we're going to go ahead and use the U.S. survey foot. If you was in a state such as Michigan, you want to use the international foot template, just use that one. So I want to use Trimble's U.S. survey foot up here up top. This is the local templates, and then down below are the user profile. If you have your subscription and you are logged in with your Trimble ID, I'll say OK here. Once that opens up, what I like to do is I like to set this up so that this is how I want to work. Like, I don't use the grid. So across the bottom, the info bar, I'll shut the grid off. If there's any settings down here, I want to leave it just as it is, but I just want to shut the grid off. I don't care about the grid. A few things I like to set for layers and things like that. But first thing I want to do is let's go to project settings. And there's not a whole lot in here I'll change. I will come down to computations. This is a big one. Go to surface, and I'll change my maximum sampling distance. So these settings are default what Trimble does when you install it, and I like to set the maximum sampling distance down to at least 10. Don't really need to go. We've been running 10, 12 for several years, but what that does is it increases the vertices on a line. If the line is, it was set at 100,000, so if the line is longer than 100,000, it'll only put one vertice, or shorter than 100,000, it'd put a vertice at each end. So by 10, it's going to put one every 10. It's not breaking the line or creating points. It's putting a 10 vertice along that line at every 10 foot. And then max mid-ordinate through a vertical curve and max mid-ordinate through a horizontal curve is what these top two settings are. And that's pretty much what I'll leave it. And then sampling distance along an edge, how far it'll triangulate, and I'll try to point this out as we go through this training, but I'll take that down about 225, sometimes 275. Let's go 275. And then I do adjust for flat triangles. If I'm doing a site takeoff, sometimes this can save you. It tries to do a little better job of interpolating from triangles. Like on a lot of your existing, you're just using existing contours to get your existing surface. And then sometimes I'll take that down just so it pushes that triangulation. A lot of your contours are 1 foot, so I'll push that down, just try to make it interpolate a little better. It's about ½ foot on that tolerance. The only other thing on the units, the vertical angle, that defaults in this template to zenith. I'll set that to % slope. So over on the left, select your units and then come down vertical angle, set that % slope, and then say OK. And then let's do some CAD layers. So everybody go to the CAD tab. So when we're talking about tabs, we're talking about this grouping across the top, all these individual tabs, and the commands are what's held within each tab. There may be multiple commands, or the same command may be on every tab, but they try to group the commands that pertain to what you're trying to do for that tab. And it'll make sense as we go through this. But if I select CAD, I want to go to Layer Manager over on the left. A few things I don't mess with, like this drill plans, I don't need, so you can get rid of that. You do have to have points, that's good, and you do have to have layer 0. So I want to go ahead and create a couple layers and a couple groups, and we'll talk about groups. So I'm going to go ahead and say new layer. And what I like to do is I like to have certain items that I draw lines on and put items on, such as 3D demo, 2D demo. So I'm just going to make some layers that work for my site takeoff. So I'd go 3D building, like BLDG, and then I'll set that color just so I have some color to the screen. And then I do want to protect it. If you want to protect it in a template, definitely, because what happens if you had run project cleanup after you create the surface, it will delete this surface when you run project cleanup. And I do want to go into groups, so let's go hit down arrow and go to new. It does bring the command pane up on the right. So on the right it says layer groups, and it says new layer group 1. So I'm actually going to create a layer group. I'm going to create a couple. I want to create first one called proposed, and this is any data that makes up proposed information. So I'll show you how I use it as we go. You can hit enter or hit new, and it'll populate another group. And let's go existing. And then I'm going to create one more, and I like to do this. A lot of people have this in their templates, but I'm going to just say takeoff items. So this is going to be such as topsoil stripping, line work. It's going to be topsoil respread, line work, and so forth. But I think let's just go with those items right now. So proposed, existing, and takeoff items, and let's hit close. I'll probably jump into my template once we start the work, but this is kind of just a good start so that you can see what we want to do. Well, let's put this 3D building under proposed. Let's go new layer. Let's say 3D contours. And you could break this down to major, minimum, major. We'll just go 3D contours. A lot of the takeoff when we do off PDF, they're just single layer contours. So we have proposed. Let's put that on proposed as well. Let's go new layer, and let's go 3D EP for like an edge of pavement. So we're putting in our parking lot limit, so forth. and we'll put that on proposed. And then let's go new layer again, and let's say 3D curb, and I'll do curb first, and then we'll go BOC for back of curb, and let's make that blue. So things you can do too is if you set this template up and you have colors set, these colors will export out. If you guys are doing data prep, it'll export out to the collector as that color. So it's good to have color on the collector. Some colors don't show up, some colors show up better than others, but in this case we're just doing this for our takeoff. And then let's go ahead and protect all three of these, and then we're going to have some new layers. So let's go new layer, let's say topsoil stripping, and I'll leave that white. I'll protect it, and I'm going to put that on takeoff items. And then let's go new layer again. Let's say topsoil, respread. A lot of times I'll use the same layer here, but let's go ahead and create a new one. I'm gonna make that white as well, and a takeoff item. And then let's go new layer. Let's say 2D demo, and let's put that on the existing layer. So existing group. Those are lines that's going to make up our boundaries for our demo, and I leave that white as well. I don't leave it on as much. Let's go new layer, and let's go 3D contour, or existing contours, or we can say 3D contours existing. Exist. And let's make that so our regular ones are orange. Let's make these yellow. And then we protect those two as well. Put this on existing. So EP, back of curb, contours. Let's change this prop contour. So if you want to rename something, you can actually just click on that layer, and let's put prop contours. So we have, let me keep it straight. Let's go contours prop. So a lot of times I'll name this so that things are in order. If you're trying to find all your contours, you can find it, but they're going to be in groups, so you'll be able to see organize a little better in the view filter manager. All right, let's just start there. We may create a few others as we go. Line styles, I'm not worried about in this takeoff. Line weight, I'm not worried about in this takeoff. So let's close this. So if you go to view filter manager over here, now you'll notice you'll have other headings here. So let's clean some of this up as well. Come over to view filter manager, and let's hit the advanced. So these icons across the top of the view filter manager. There's to the far right advanced view filter settings, and I'm going to leave all that alone. Do not uncheck any of these. What we want to do is we want to pick the header name. So let's click on flag, on the word flag, and then right click and say show hide category. Same thing with raw data. Right click, show hide that category. Again, do not uncheck these. You can get to where you hide some of your objects. Photogrammetry, same thing, show hide category. Setouts, don't need it to be on. Takeoff items, proposed existing layers, I want on. And then down here under these four tabs, the two that I want to leave on is point and display options. The others I don't. So let's hit observations, uncheck at the bottom. GNS says data, scroll down and check at the bottom. It says display tab and view filter manager, shut that off. You can say apply and then say OK. So that cleans up your view filter manager. So it's set up how you got groups. And again, the way these groups are, you'll see our layers are sorted. It's nothing more than just a sorting of layers when you use layer groups. So it just takes everything out of layers, puts them in the layer group that you picked. So it just kind of keeps it cleaner as you go through and work. So, all right, so let's go file and let's go save as template. And I'm just going to call this takeoff template. And I wouldn't set that as a default project. You might, but as we go, you can tweak it. I'm not going to save it to my profile. It's in the cloud or under my Trimble ID profile, and I'm just going to save it so it's in my local settings. We'll say save. And then if you have data in here, you got to be cautious. You do not want to do this when you have data in a file. And if you save this template with that data, it's in all your files as you move forward. So it's saying it will remove all point cloud data from the project, and that's a yes. Now let's go File, pull down, and go File, New. And there's our takeoff template, and let's say OK. So now when we say File, New, we get a nice clean, our grid's gone, our layers over here are all set up, and it's just our project settings are set how we want to set it, and let's go from there. So what we're going to do now is we have a site takeoff that we're going to perform on a site. It's a good set of plans, but these are broke up into individual sheets. So if I open up this grading plan, and I am using Bluebeam, so if we open this grading plan and we look at this grading plan as a in Bluebeam, it is a vectorized PDF, and that's what we're going to treat it as. It's got some spot grades, it's got contours, it's got existing contours, and then proposed contours, and all the proposed data is highlighted in a darker color. Well, this site also has, I'll pull this over here, the site also has a really great existing conditions and demo plan. So this job does have some demolition that needs to be done. We're going to add it after the fact. We're going to add it later. Not all jobs have demo. The majority of ours that we'd look at probably does not, but this one does. So we're going to add it in, but we'll add it later, and we'll show you how to do that. So what we're going to do is just focus on the proposed plan, and we're going to bring it in two ways, and then we'll stop this video and move on to the next one. So I'm just going to close this, and if you are familiar, you can drag and drop. So if you have your file here, you can drag the grading plan and drop it in. But if you have not use the import tab, you want to, I've been getting in the habit of using the import tab. So up here at the very top on the toolbar, quick bar at the top, or if you go home tab, there's an import. Now when you get an icon with a down arrow under the word, that means there's two options. If you hit the down arrow on the word, there's that means there's usually some embedded commands or commands underneath there. What you want to do in these cases is hit the top icon. Now if I'm going to import and use the import command, there's some settings down here that I want to use. So I'm going to go find that folder. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. I want to go to my desktop, and I believe it's under Takeoff, Site Takeoff. Select that folder, and again you're hitting this dot 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 right here above in the import command. It's asking you browse for folder, and we're going to find that Site Takeoff folder. Say OK. So here's all the PDFs that we're looking at. So just like I was here in this project in the File Explorer, it's the same folder. I'm looking at it inside TBC, the import command. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to pick on grading plan. Okay. So the reason you might want to do that is these settings down here. When you click on an actual type that TBC recognizes, it'll show you certain settings for that type of file. Okay, and in this case, DPI is the resolution that it would import. I do import at 300. Sometimes 150 can get a little gritty on a few files. 600 does increase your file size. It does kind of bog your file down, so 300 is a good medium. If I had a set of plans that had like 40 sheets or 50 sheets or 120 sheets and I only need a certain page out of it, I would use this import command and I'd pick on that PDF that had multiple pages and I'd put the page that I wanted to import. So if I wanted to import page 5 out of that, then I would. These are all individual sheets, so I don't need to worry about that. Import a sheet. I just did some cross-section import. I do not want to do that, so I want to say no. You can import PDF cross sections in. It's a roadway import cross sections. I'm not doing that in this case. And then I want to change this. This comes in as default as PDF. So under default circumstances, this is what it should look like. This would usually be 150. Set a sheet as no, and then join dash lines, we want to have that as yes. So I'm going to change the resolution to 300. So we have our grading plan selected. We have our DPI selected. We have our import as sheet, no, PDF is the name, and then we're going to click import. And I do have this close command after import unchecked. So I have that unchecked on all the import and export options, but I'm going to go ahead and hit import. Now that's going to bring the PDF in, and you're going to see it on the screen. You can see the yellow frame. You can see the PDF. I do have my crosshairs. I'll jump into the settings option or support options page here in a second. I do have my crosshair. That is more just a visual, and we'll talk about that when I go into options. When you first bring in a PDF, a single page, it'll bring up the place image command. Okay, now we're going to talk about two methods of importing, and I'm going to use the latter, but the first one is place image. So let's just do this first. So if I want to place an image, I'm going to do this site takeoff. It does not matter really how the north arrow points. If it points up, it points to the east. Would probably be plan standards, but sometimes they're crooked a little bit. North is not always vertical. I always import it as the sheet reads. So if I'm trying to read this text label right here, I would import it just as the sheet reads, because I'm not worried about the location in terms of building it just yet. Maybe later if we get the job, but all I'm worried about is getting the scale correctly. Okay, so I want to be able to scale this print up so that it matches the actual distance. So if I measure a building, say a building's 50 foot, I want to make sure it shows it measures 50 foot. So I'm just going to use this known distance option. So I want to come down here and I want to say distance. I'm just going to use the scale bar. So I want to say 40 for the distance. And then in the from pixel, if you come out on the screen, anytime you see the word pixel, that means image, and that's what a PDF is, just looking at it as an image. And when it says from pixel, I'm looking for the PDF. So I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to touch that corner. And it's difficult to see with this white background as such, but there is a green X that's popping in. So it's snapping to that corner. I'm just going to pick it. Now you can see the rubber band on the screen. I'm going to come over to this corner and I want to touch until I get the green X, and then I'll pick that. Once you have that set, you can say compute. Now that drawing is placed. Okay, so it is geographically not oriented to anything in the field. So if I was taking this to the field, and none of the coordinates match, it is just a scaled view of this PDF. So now I could do a heads-up digitizing, or I could digitize import vectors, which we are going to do, but I could start doing the takeoff. Once I have that, I can close this and close the import, and the sheet will stay on the screen. Okay, so again, it's not placed anywhere location-wise, but it is scaled up to 40 feet and the scale bar, and now I have a PDF that I could start using. Okay, now I will go over to Project Explorer. So come over here to Project Explorer, and let's find that PDF. So under imported files, here is that PDF. Let's click on it, and then let's right click, and we can say properties, and that'll bring up the properties pane, which we already have. Let's scroll down there to the bottom, and I want to change that display style to dimmed. And what that does is allows you to see the cursor a little better, and you can see how it changes the image background so it's not so white and trying to cover up everything. So alright, so that's place image. There's a couple things that if you're not aware of, you get by you doing what they call georeference image, okay? And you're still gonna use the scale bar, but you're gonna use a specific location, and you're gonna use 2 points to put that in. The reason being is down here under the snaps, this S default, this vector PDF nodes, anytime you do a place image, you don't get this option here. So we want to use the georeference image so that we can use this vector PDF nodes. What that does is it gives us a little better accuracy when we're trying to snap in some of this PDF data. Okay, so we're going to do this again, and instead of deleting, actually I will. Let's just come over to Project Explorer. Let's find that. Click on that grading plan under imported files, right click, and hit delete. So we removed that from this project. So let's do it again, and when we use the import, those settings that we set are retained on our drag and drop. So this time we're just going to drag and drop. So I'm going to click on this folder here, find our folder. I'm just going to find that PDF, and I'm going to hold down my left click and drag it into the plan view area. Does exactly the same thing as it did before. It brings up the sheet and brings up place image, but I can't use, there's no way of setting 2 points relative in the place image command. So we're going to close this. And when you close it, you notice your PDF disappears. The reason it doesn't stay on the screen, it has to be scaled or placed in the project before it stays on the screen. So let's come over here to Project Explorer, find our grading plan, click on the grading plan, and then let's right click and let's say georeference. So we found the PDF, we right click and we say georeference vector PDF. So what georeference does, it gives us an option to pick 2 points, a pixel, and then a location. So we can actually type in a location, and even though we don't have anything, we would use this in a data prep world where we're going to put the grading plan behind some CAD data, but we don't have CAD data on this one. And so we'd pick 2 points on the PDF and pick 2 points we want it to go to on our CAD data. But in this case, we're going to still use the scale bar. So I'm going to zoom up here. There's that green X. I'm going to pick it. And my location, I'm just going to type in 5,000 space 5,000. So that means 5,000 northing space 5,000 easting. Now I'm going to click over here in the B area. And I want to pick on this side of the scale bar. And this one is going to be exactly 40 feet east of our first point. So that means the northing is not going to change. It's going to be 5,000. And then space 5040. So what that means is it's not changing in the northing coordinate. It is changing 40 feet. So this is still going to be scaled 40 feet. And it's going to be using these 2 locations. I'm also going to use this upper rectangular clipping area, okay? And this upper left, lower right, and just follow the directions. And what I want to do is I want to try to limit my PDF so that I don't have to worry about anything outside my actual data set. I don't want all this stuff over here. I don't want the title box or anything. I want to set a square so I get a square that is limiting only the area of where I'm going to work, okay? And then up above, this should be default. Actually was doing a demo with somebody and I shut this off to show the purpose of using this, but I want that to be turned on. So right underneath up here at top where it says Save Snap Locations, I want that to be on. So we have our rectangular clipping. That's the box where we're going to only import this data or see this data. And then I have 2 points, a point on the PDF to a location, a second point on the PDF, and you can see A here, B here. And once I have that, I'll hit register. You'll see it in now. If I come down here, you'll see a coordinate scroll down here, or you can look in the coordinate scroll we have on the screen. If I move this around, you'll see my coordinates are around 5,000, 5,000, and our distance is correct. Okay, so let's close this. So we have placed this image using the georeference tab, and now what we're going to have is, and you're going to see this in the next video, we have the option of using down here under the S default, we have the option of using vector PDF nodes. So we're going to do one thing and then we'll stop this section. Let's go ahead and come back over to Project Explorer and find the imported PDF under imported files. Click on it and then let's right click. And what we're going to do is we're going to say import vector PDF data. So we're going to start looking at this data in the next video, but I want to go ahead and import it in this video. So let's go import vector PDF data. All this defaults is exactly how I leave it. So it's going to import this PDF. It's the only one in the file. I do want to join dashed lines and discard the raw data. I do want to preserve 80 PDF layers, and the rest of it not too worried about. I'm going to click import. Now what that does is it retraces the drawing based off like pen widths, pen color, and that's how it correlates a lot of the line work as it brings it in. So you're going to see in this one it actually does import the native PDF layers. So on the screen you'll see we have what looks like some colors, but we actually have, if I zoom in and pick one, we actually have some line work. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring the PDF and turn the PDF to dim. So let's go find under Project Explorer, click on that PDF, right click and go properties. Let's change it to dimmed for the view style. So scroll down, display style, dimmed. Okay, now let's come back to View Filter Manager and then scroll down near the bottom or minimize the plus and minus. That'll bring that. And if you hold the shift key down and double click on one of those gray bars, it minimizes and maximizes the whole tree. And then what we want to do, let's shut our georeference or our PDF off. So we have CAD data. The CAD data is scaled up using the georeference option. We use the scale bar. So in the next video we're going to start sorting this data and cleaning it up for our takeoff. But I want to do a file save as, and so I can save this project for future use. So we'll go to desktop, Site Takeoff. It does say it as a VCE, hit save. Oh, jumped into my folder, sorry. Let's go Site Takeoff, project. Click save.